How many times have you entered an argument with a woman, armed with logic, facts, and ironclad arguments, only to walk away completely drained and defeated? You proved to her why moving to another city is a great move for your family. You laid out, piece by piece, why buying this specific car, not the other one, is a smart investment. You gave her 100 reasons why the weekend should be spent this way, and not that way. And in return, you got a wall of, "It just doesn't feel right. The heart wants what it wants," or just a dead silence that meant one thing. You lost. Well, here's the brutal but liberating truth they've been hiding from you. Your logic is worthless. Trying to convince a woman with facts is like trying to crack a bank safe with a piece of cooked macaroni. It's useless, because you're knocking on the wrong door. You're appealing to her conscious mind, the neocortex, which is responsible for analysis. But she makes her decisions with a completely different part of her being, the limbic system, her ancient emotional brain. Even the founding fathers of psychoanalysis, Freud and Jung, proved that 90% of our decisions, desires, and fears are born in the dark depths of the subconscious. And today, you will stop being a blind kitten bumping into a wall. You will get the instruction manual on how to speak directly to her subconscious. You will master the art of the illusion of choice, an advanced technology of influence where she herself, with genuine enthusiasm, will want exactly what you wanted all along. But I have to warn you, this knowledge is dangerous. It gives you immense power, and power corrupts the weak. If you're ready to gain access to these tools, like this video right now, so I know we're on the same page, and you understand the full responsibility. And if you're new here, and you're not afraid of the deep end, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next, even more powerful breakdowns. And before we begin, write in the comments what city you're from. I'm really interested to see the geography of our community. Part 1. The Foundation of Influence. Controlling the context before we get to the specific techniques, we have to lay the foundation. Any professional player knows the winner isn't the one who plays by the rules the best, but the one who sets the rules. In the psychology of influence, the rules of the game are the context in which the situation is placed. By controlling the context, you control the perception. And by controlling the perception, you control the decision. And there are two main pillars here, framing and emotional anchors. The first tool is the power of framing. A frame is what you put around a picture. The exact same painting, placed in a cheap plastic frame versus a massive, carved oak frame, will be perceived completely differently. Its value in the eyes of the viewer will change, even though the canvas itself hasn't changed. In communication, it works the exact same way. Framing is the art of packaging your idea in a conceptual and emotional frame that makes it maximally attractive and the only correct option. Why does this work so flawlessly? Because the human brain, and especially the female brain, which is more inclined to holistic emotional perception, is lazy. It doesn't want to analyze raw facts. It wants a ready-made story, a ready-made frame, to quickly understand how to feel about something. Is it dangerous or safe? A loss or a gain? A problem or an opportunity? And whoever provides that frame first wins. The arguer tries to prove the quality of the painting itself. The master of influence simply changes the frame it's hanging in. Let's look at a simple example. Let's say you want to convince her to go on vacation to the mountains for a hiking trip, instead of the beach, where she's used to going. The ineffective strategy is to argue. You'll talk about health benefits, beautiful views, and saving money. She'll talk about comfort, getting a tan, and cocktails on the beach. You'll both endlessly describe the painting, and you will lose, because her painting is more emotionally familiar. The effective strategy is to change the frame. Instead of the debate about vacation type's frame, You create the "our new shared adventure" frame. You don't argue. You set the context. You say, "I was thinking, as a team, we haven't really tested our resilience in a while, haven't stepped out of our comfort zone. I want us to have an experience that will bring us closer, one we'll remember for years. It'll be our own little great adventure." You stopped selling her the mountains. You started selling her a story about the two of you, and the mountains are just the scenery. And from within this frame, her familiar beach doesn't look so appealing anymore. The second tool, which is even deeper, is emotional anchors. If framing is the architecture, then anchors are the electricity you run through the building, lighting up the rooms you need. An emotional anchor is any stimulus, be it a word, a gesture, a melody, or even a scent that is subconsciously linked to a specific strong emotional state. It's the classic conditioned reflex, but not for Pavlov's dog's saliva, but for human feelings: joy, security, excitement, or peace. And here we dive into the depths where Jung and Freud swam. Jung spoke of archetypes, universal symbols that live in the collective unconscious and evoke similar emotions in everyone. Words like home, journey, victory, secret, these are not just words. They are powerful anchors, keys to the deep layers of the psyche. Your task is to learn to find her personal anchors and link them to the decision you need her to make. You must become an archaeologist of her soul to understand which words and images make her heart beat faster. How does this work in practice? Let's say you need her to agree to a risky but promising step related to your shared future. For example, to support your decision to quit your job and start your own business. A direct conversation will trigger her fear. That's the risk and loss of stability frame. Instead, you act more subtly. A week or two before this conversation, at moments when she is happiest and most relaxed, say, during a walk in the park, or at dinner in her favorite restaurant, you casually start bringing up moments from your past when you successfully overcame challenges together. You say, "Remember when we decided to go on that trip? Everyone advised against it, but we took the risk and it was the best decision. We were a real team." You say the key words: decided, took the risk, team, victory, at her peak emotional state. You are setting an anchor. And when the time comes for the main conversation, you build your speech around these words, which are already charged with positivity. You say, "I have an idea. It will require us to become that same team again. We'll have to take a risk, like we did back then. But I'm sure it will be our shared victory." You're not persuading. You're activating a preloaded, happy emotion in her subconscious that is linked to these words. And her brain, on its own, will color your new idea in positive tones. Part 2. 3 Tactical Methods of the Illusion of Choice. Now that we have the foundation, the ability to control context through frames and anchors, we can move on to the tactical tools. These are 3 specific verbal techniques that allow you to create that very illusion of choice in practice. This isn't about brute force, but surgical precision. You don't break her will. You gently guide it in the direction you want, leaving her with the complete feeling that she made the decision herself. The first, and most famous, technique is the choice without a choice. Its genius lies in its simplicity. You remove the yes or no question from the equation and immediately jump to the question: which of these 2 options that I'm happy with do you prefer? This shifts her focus from resistance to the process of choosing. Her brain is given a task, and instead of fighting your proposal, it starts analyzing the alternatives you've offered. This lowers her internal defenses and creates a sense of control over the situation. A classic example we've already mentioned is the difference between 2 phrases. An ineffective phrase that invites rejection sounds like this: "Maybe we could go to my place?" There are only 2 answers here: yes or no. And no is very easy to say. An effective structure that creates the illusion of choice sounds different. Listen, it's a great evening. Should we go to my place and order a pizza, or go to your place and watch a movie? Notice the option, "We're not going anywhere," isn't even offered. It's been taken out of the equation. Her mind is busy comparing two pleasant scenarios. This works not only in seduction, but in everyday life too. Instead of asking, "Will you help me clean up?" you say, "We need to tidy up a bit. Do you want to take the kitchen while I take the room, or the other way around?" Instead of asking, "Should we go to a restaurant on Saturday?" you say, "I want to take you to a restaurant on Saturday. Would you prefer that cozy Italian place with a nice patio, or the new Asian place everyone's talking about?" You always offer two options, and each of them leads to your original goal. The second technique is the presumption of consent. Here, you start talking and acting as if the desired decision has already been made. You don't ask for permission. You state a fact and discuss the details. This is a powerful psychological move that creates a new reality. Most people, and women in particular, find it psychologically harder to tear down an already established social reality than to simply go along with it. Refusing in this case requires a much greater effort of will. What does this look like? Compare two models of behavior. The ineffective model, full of uncertainty. "What do you think about visiting my parents this weekend?" This sentence screams, "Please let me, but I'm ready for you to say no." The effective model, based on the presumption of consent. "By the way, I was talking to my mom, and they're really looking forward to seeing us this weekend. I told them we'd arrive on Saturday for lunch. Should we leave at 10 or 11 to beat the traffic?" You didn't ask if she would go. You announced that you are going and moved on to discussing the details. Your entire tone, your whole body language, must radiate a calm confidence that the matter is settled. This puts her in a position where to refuse, she would have to start a confrontation and actively destroy an existing plan, which is much harder than simply adjusting to it. And finally, the third, most subtle and masterful technique is the Socratic method. The great philosopher never imposed his opinion. Instead, he asked his interlocutor a series of questions that logically led the person to the conclusion Socrates wanted to convey. You don't make statements. You ask questions. But each of your questions is a step, and by climbing them, she arrives at your goal on her own, absolutely convinced that it was her own conclusion. The key to this method is to build a chain of 3 or 4 questions to which it's impossible to answer no. These should be questions about her own values, beliefs, or commonly known facts. Let's say you want her to agree to start saving money together for a major goal, but she doesn't like to limit herself. A direct proposal like, "Let's save money," will cause a fight. So, you use the Socratic method. You start from a distance. First question, tell me, do you agree that it's important for a couple to have shared big goals for the future? The answer is obvious. Yes, of course. Second question, and do you agree that achieving big goals, like owning a home or traveling the world, makes a relationship stronger and takes it to a new level? The answer is yes again. Third question, but any big goal requires not just desires, but also certain steps, a certain plan, right? It's impossible to argue with that either. And now, after 3 yeses, you ask the key question. So, maybe we should sit down right now and make a plan for our shared goal, so it stops being a dream and starts becoming a reality? After her previous answers, it would be extremely difficult for her to say no, as it would contradict everything she just agreed with. She has backed herself into a logical corner, and now your proposal doesn't look like a restriction, but like the only right step toward the goal whose importance she herself has just confirmed. Is this level of depth that you will find in every one of my videos. If this is the approach you've been looking for, now is the perfect time to subscribe. Part 3. The Ethical Side. Power and responsibility have the keys to these powerful tools. We must talk about responsibility. Any knowledge can be used for good or for evil. A knife in the hands of a surgeon saves a life. In the hands of a criminal, it takes one. The techniques of influence we've discussed are that very knife. And what you become the surgeon of your relationship, carefully removing conflicts and misunderstandings, or a tyrant. Shredding another person's will depends solely on your intention. The sixth point is the fundamental difference between influencing for mutual benefit, the so-called win-win strategy, and manipulation for selfish gain, the win-lose strategy. Influence is when you use these techniques to help both you and her reach a goal that will objectively make your life together better. For example, you guide her toward the decision to start exercising because you care about her health and want you to be an active couple. Or you convince her to move to a more promising city because it will open up new opportunities for both of you. Here, your goal is the common good. Manipulation is when your goal only benefits you, while for her, it's either neutral or harmful. For example, you convince her to take out a loan for a car that only you need, or to stop seeing her friends because you don't like them. In the first case, you are a leader and a partner. In the second, you are a selfish tyrant. Before using any of these techniques, always ask yourself one simple question. If she knew all my motives and the whole truth, would she agree with my decision? If the answer is yes, then you are acting ethically. You are simply helping her overcome momentary fears or doubts for a long-term benefit. If the answer is no, then you are a manipulator. And remember that any deception is eventually revealed, and with it, the most valuable thing in a relationship, trust, is destroyed. It's almost impossible to rebuild it. And the seventh and final point is red lines. There are topics and situations where using these techniques is not just unethical, but absolutely unacceptable. These are the zones where directness, honesty, and respect for her autonomy are the only right path. The first such zone is her fundamental values and life principles. If she is a committed vegetarian and you try to lead her to eat a steak, you are committing violence against her personality. The second zone is her health, both physical and mental. Any decisions related to treatment, therapy, or important medical procedures must be made only with full information and her informed consent. The third zone is her personal boundaries and her right to say no in matters of intimacy. Here, there can be no illusions of choice. Only a clear and unambiguous yes. Attempting to bypass these boundaries is not influence. It's a crime. Ignoring these red lines is the fastest way to destroy any relationship, even the strongest one, and to lose not only the woman, but also respect for yourself. True masculine strength lies not in the ability to force your decision, but in the wisdom to see the bigger picture and gently guide your shared boat to a happy shore, avoiding the reefs of conflict. These techniques are your steering wheel, but you must chart the course together. And only then will it not be manipulation, but the art of partnership. So, let's summarize the main point and solidify the transformation that needs to happen in your mindset. Stop being a hammer that sees a nail in every problem and become an architect who creates the desired reality. The path of persuasion, arguments, and logical reasoning is a path of constant struggle. It's an energy-draining and, as we've found, completely ineffective strategy because you are trying to hack the operating system of her conscious mind, while all decisions are made at the hardware level in her emotional, subconscious core. By mastering the principles we've discussed today, you change the paradigm itself. You no longer react to her resistance. You proactively create an environment where there is simply no room for that resistance. As we've learned, Freud and Jung proved that the subconscious is the true power behind the throne of our psyche. and now you have direct access to its office. Framing allows you to choose the scenery. Emotional anchors let you turn on the right music. And tactical methods, like the choice without a choice, or the Socratic method, are the lines you give the main character to ensure the play goes according to your script. But understand the most important thing. This is not about getting her to yield to you in small matters. It's about both of you, as a couple, starting to move toward big goals faster and without wasting energy on pointless domestic wars. The true leader and captain of a ship is not the one who yells at the crew, but the one who knows how to use the wind and currents to his advantage. Your task is to become that captain in your relationship, wise, forward-thinking, and understanding the deep nature of the elements. Remember that all power is, above all, a responsibility. Use this knowledge to build, not to destroy, and you will see your relationship reach a completely new level of harmony, trust, and mutual progress. And now for the main question for you. What is the most common situation where you fail to convince your woman? Describe it in the comments. The most interesting cases may become topics for future breakdowns. And by the way, in the next video, we'll analyze the other side of the coin, the 3 main signs that these techniques of influence are being used against you right now. To make sure you don't miss this crucial analysis, ensure you are subscribed and have hit the notification bell.